to any man, just to think of what you may be getting into just from looking at the surface, you have no idea.
That's right.
You better get tested before you start messing with people.
True.
You know, and that's not even the rest of the story. That's just, you know, right. Again, so let's talk about touch on blood transfusions as well, because we just want to let you guys know there are several ways that you can contract HIV, not just through sex, needles, or pregnancy, but also through blood transfusion.
Okay, blood transfusions and blood products. So in the past, some people were infected with HIV through blood transfusions and blood products used to treat illnesses like hemophilia. Okay, where's my next page?
No, I think that was it on that one. So a lot of times, and I know there are a lot of places that are now, when cases have happened, so they're getting a lot better about testing the blood,
right? You
know, before it's been given to someone else.
Okay.
You know, and that was always scary to me, because I have a sister that has sickle cell, and she's had to have blood transfusions more than once, and that's the first thing that I thought about. And thank God, you know, that nothing has, you know, come out of that. But you immediately think blood transfusion, somebody else's blood. Are you serious? Yeah. You know, me, I'm thinking spirits and everything else might be floating in that blood. I don't want that.
Well, I'll share my personal testimony. Okay. Because, you know, as you know, I'm not a virgin. I've had sex before. But just with me being saved, me wanting to live my life to please God, me wanting to be a blessing to the husband that he brings into my life. I didn't want to, because I have had unprotected sex, I didn't want to risk bringing something to a person that I claim to love, that, you know, regardless. So I just want, just the time, well, when I went to take a HIV test. And I can tell you, for those of you that are afraid, it's better to know than to not know. Some people just want to live with their head in the sand and just want to live in denial like it don't even exist, even though they know that there's a possibility. When you have put yourself out there, or you put yourself in a position where you know that you've had contact. Yes. So just the experience. I remember, you know, going to see my doctor and making an appointment, and I had such anxiety. Because I know, you know, just knowing what could happen, but it was kind of a weird emotion, because on one hand I know y'all may think I'm crazy.
No.
On one hand,
we've all been there.
On one hand, I kind of wanted to have it just so I could. I'm like, God, okay, this is I want to see if you are really a healer. That's what you say.
No, you on your own with that one.
No, right? It was crazy. It was really weird. It really was. But you know, I went in, and, you know, there was just such anxiety, such panic almost. And, you know, when I got the call to come in for the results, and I'm just like, okay, here we go. You know, and of course, it did come out negative. Thank God. You know, I bless the Lord. But I just wanted to be in a position where I could be a blessing. You know, I didn't want to allow me to be to transfer something onto somebody that I claimed to love, that I claimed I wanted to spend my life with, when they're innocent. You know your status.
And that's the same thing that I said to the young lady. You know, how could you even go there with him? And it started out they had a long time before anything happened, because she knew. And I think that's where a lot of people fall, is because of the fact that, you know, you're a woman, you just got abandoned with your baby. That both of you guys are now, you know, now have this virus. She was young, you know, so there's always going to be that desire for companionship and want somebody in your life. So it's like you meet somebody, and, you know, he's a really nice guy. He takes to your child, he takes to you, and he's always there for you, you know, does everything for you. So, I mean, what's not to love, you know what I mean? But it gets to some point, you know, where other things begin to happen. And, you know, she said, well, we were using, you know, condoms, and everything was fine.
It doesn't matter.
And, but see, but the thing is that it got to a point, and like I tell people, young people, I don't care what you say, you cannot tell me, if you have had any extensive amount of time with a person, you may start off doing the right thing, being covered up, but once that comfort sets in, and that's what happened with him. You know, he was wondering, okay, well, if I'm with you and you're with me, why is it all of a sudden now I don't want to wear this anymore? Because eventually we're going to get married, so I don't want to use it, so why are you so adamant? What are you doing? So it started making him think other things, because then she even went as far as, well, what if I just do it, and then if he gets it, maybe he'll think, you know, because he had a wild past, that basically he gave it to me. And I mean, I was just like, okay.
That's like deceptive.
Yes, it is.
That's you know.
It is. But I'm just saying, because I know that there's somebody listening. Either somebody's listening and has gone through it, has that mindset, or you know someone who has.
Right.
You know, and I mean, you're actually giving a death sentence to somebody.
That's right.
And to me, you should be in prison for that. You know, I just don't think, if you know, it's one thing if you don't know, and God forbid, you know, something happens and say you get sick and you go and you find out. Right. But if you know, and you deliberately, you know, pursue someone, I don't care how good they are to you.
That's right.
It's just, you know.
And then too, you know, and then just with that, condoms, they ain't 100%. So you shouldn't be having sex at all if you know, or you know, let people know what they're getting into.
We have so much to do in educating people and understanding how we are affecting those that have already been infected.
I have people that won't even talk to me, that won't be seen in public with me. One neighbor that stayed right across the street, she would actually stop people that she saw come over here, or cars that pull out the driveway. She would stop them, flag them down to let them know I was positive and that they don't need to be coming over here.
Sometimes people are afraid of you. Sometimes people don't want to be around you. I've had some family members, when I go to their house, I have a very specific chair that I sit in that is completely covered in plastic. I eat off of styrofoam, plastic, paper, whatever. I can't play with some of my nieces and nephews because I have the disease. Once again, I'm labeled dirty, nasty, disgusted, and tainted. That's one of the, probably the worst life-altering things about the disease, is because you're labeled.
It's so mind-boggling as to how ignorant some people are. And not saying ignorant as in I don't want to say thick-headed, but ignorant is that they just don't know.
Right.
And like you say, you are killing your family. This is the gentleman. He was saying that's his family. This is a 50-something-year-old guy, and all of a sudden now you can't play with your nieces and nephews. You can't sit and enjoy a decent family home-cooked meal with your family because you have this disease. And
everybody has China, and you're eating off the styrofoam.
Eating off the styrofoam plates because his family doesn't know that you can't get it, but just by eating off of, you know, the same pork or whatever. And it's mind-blowing as to how these people are alienated. And you know, it's so hard to go through life dealing with this, but you have to deal with that also. You have to worry about fighting to keep your life, fighting to just see the next day. And you also have to fight to try to hold on to those relationships that have been cultivated for so long. 50 years of a relationship, and now it's diminished to nothing.
Wow. My God. Well, I just want to read a few statistics from the top 10 reported AIDS cases, and this was as of January of this year. I'm going to read you the top 10 states for the AIDS virus. New York is at the top with 190,363. California is 159,606. Florida has 116,041. Texas comes in fourth with 76,674. New Jersey is 53,756. Georgia, 38,084. Pennsylvania, 37,842. Illinois, 37,592. Maryland, 35,395. Puerto Rico has 32,057.
And if I can interrupt you 1 second, and that is of people who have been tested.
Exactly.
So how many people have not been tested? Those numbers really don't mean, I mean, they show what they show, but they don't mean nothing.
They're not necessarily accurate. We know that they're not accurate because, again, there's a lot of people, you know, the lady stated in the clip, that are walking around and have no idea. Wow. So, and again, we have the top 10 reported AIDS cases in the metropolitan areas. These are the major cities. New York City comes in number 1 with 126,237. Los Angeles has 43,448. San Francisco has 28,438. Miami has 25,357. Washington, D.C. has 24,844. Chicago is 22,703. Philadelphia has 20,369. Houston, 19,898. Newark is 17,796, and Atlanta has 17,157. And again, these statistics are being provided by the Centers for Disease Control, and this was effective January 30th of this year. And again, as Angie B stated, these are not numbers, which include those that have not been tested. So just think of the thousands of people that have not been tested at all. So it's amazing. It really is. It's amazing. Now, how do you know if you have it, especially for those that are walking around and have not taken the step to go and get tested? You can't tell if you have HIV by how you look or feel, and I got that firsthand. You can't tell whether another person has HIV by looking at him or her. People with HIV can look and feel healthy for many years. The only way to know if you have HIV is by having a blood test. This test is known as an HIV test or an HIV antibody test. You may have heard it referred to as an AIDS test, but the test does not tell you if you have or will get AIDS. It tells you only whether you have been infected with HIV. And again, HIV, you have to have that before it turns into AIDS. So just for people who are not aware, this test looks for antibodies that are made by the immune system when a person is infected with HIV. It is a very accurate test. If antibodies to HIV are found, the test results is referred to as positive. The person is HIV antibody positive or HIV positive or HIV with the little plus sign it has on here. This means that the person has been infected with HIV. If antibodies are not found, the test result is referred to as negative, and the person is HIV antibody negative, or again HIV negative, or HIV, and it's a negative sign. This means that the person has not been infected with HIV. There is a gap between the time a person is infected with HIV and the time when the antibodies are formed. This period can be from 3 to 12 weeks. So even if you say that you've had sex with someone, oral sex with someone, if you've gotten high but realized that you used a dirty needle, you can't just run right away and go and get a test because it's not going to be accurate. It takes 3 to 12 weeks before the HIV, the antibodies even show up. It is called the window period. For this reason, it is important to wait for 12 weeks after engaging in activities that may have caused HIV infection before getting tested. This will ensure an accurate HIV antibody test result. And my thought is, I couldn't even fathom, you know, doing something and then realizing, oh my God, what have I done? And then having to wait 12 weeks. You know, my God. Wow. Again, what happens after someone is infected with HIV? Soon after infection, some people experience a brief flu-like, it says a seroconversion illness at the time when antibodies to HIV are being created. But most feel completely well and have no symptoms. That, again, is scary. During this period, the person is said to be asymptomatic. They may not even know they have been infected. They may continue to feel well for a long time. In fact, some people who are infected with HIV over 10 or 15 years ago continue to feel completely well today.
Wow.
Now that alone as well is also scary. During the period when the person with HIV is feeling healthy, their CD4 cells, which we talked about earlier, those are the good cells that are defending the body against HIV. Lab results would likely show that the person's CD4 count to be fairly high and their viral load, which measures the amount of HIV in the blood, to be fairly low. And that's what usually happens. You know, once they get tested and they find out they have it, right now you're in a positive stage. I mean, you have HIV, but right now your good cells, you know, they're still dominant. So, you know, you still have that time to get medication and treatment to try to, you know, try to fight the HIV antibodies. Although researchers are working to try to produce treatments which will remove all traces of HIV from an infected person's body, at this point in time we understand that once a person is infected with HIV, the virus cannot be completely destroyed or eradicated.
Wow.
And that's the thing. They're working, you know, so that there will be no traces of it. But no matter what, there is still no cure. It's still there. It continues to reproduce and to attack the immune system. At a certain point, the CD4 cells, your good cells, are overpowered and no longer keep HIV under control. The person's CD4 count then declines and their viral load arises. So again, that's just to give you just some feedback on how do you know if you have it or not. Waiting that that period, that 3 to 12 weeks before you get tested. If you realize that you made a mistake, wait those 12 weeks, go to the doctor, get treated. If it comes back positive, you may be fine for a long time, but begin getting your treatment before we. Okay, well, that's the wrap. Okay, well, thank you to everybody that tuned in today. We love you so much. We might do a part 2 next week, so be prepared to call in. Okay?
If I could just say one thing, just get tested.
Yes, please get tested.
Know your status.
Amen. And if you're dealing with a young man or whatever, first of all, if you're not married, you shouldn't be having sex anyway. But before you get married, have the blood test.
That's right.
So again, we thank you for tuning into Divine Destiny, where we are exposing darkness in Jesus' name.